Hello, hello, and welcome to Non Sequitur News. I thought the static was gone. Today is August 7th, 2024. It's Season 3, Episode 220. I am Mayor Watt, and above me, or the other voice you hear, is the Sentient AI.
Good evening, ohmTown citizens. Welcome to the August 7th Non Sequitur News.
And the reason I said it that way is because, well, if you're listening to the podcast, which is just plopping off. Just kidding. I can't. Anyway, it's growing and you don't see the visualizer. So, hey, it doesn't matter. Today we're going to be talking about Reddit is becoming the actual front page after all. Charging into Bummerville. Fugitive found working as cop. Flooded with warnings. Tweeting the quiet parts. Polka dot art is making me see spots. Welcome to Pre-K Law 3. The Drunken Pumpkin Spice Latte. 737 MAX 9 doors will now come with AirTags. And Starliner continued issues. That and more, brought to you by ohmTown.com. All right, folks, let's get right on into it. The very first article is in Reality Hacker, which is one of our other six other podcasts. And then Non Sequitur News is also a podcast. So if you're interested in everything else we talk about, you can do a search for ohmTown and you'll find us. Well, Reality Hacker is about VR and AR and all of that kind of stuff, but this was aggregated by Digital Trends, which is getting aggregated apparently based on this into Reality Hacker. All right. Well, anyway, despite Reddit's modest early beginnings, it's grown into not only the backbone of Google search, but the future of internet as well. I guess the CEO saying, "You'll be back," holds true.
Isn't that how most big tech companies operate?
Well, I mean, when the CEO edits somebody's post and everybody, flips out and the response is, "You'll be back." Yeah, I mean, it's kind of sociopathic and just what is the moral compass there? But anyway, I hardly use Reddit. I've used it over the years off and on and stuff like that, but usually there's somebody that has way too much power over somebody else's existence. And something that I had actually called out for years prior to it actually happened. And it was not well received by one mod and they all stick together. But anyway, now apparently like mods got benefits from the IPO. And now they're saying the CEO kind of floated out the idea that some subreddits will be subscription. Yeah.
I mean, they want to get on the subscription bandwagon.
So why would you do that? Well, it's because you're now an IPO. So you have a whole bunch of investors on top of the investors you already have, which means you have to keep on increasing profits, not just getting profits, but increasing profits. But Reddit has never made any money since its inception.
The model doesn't make money, right? Because people are posting articles.
Well, yeah, I mean, and then it's driving traffic over to the source, supposedly. It depends on what happens, Like for ohmTown, we aggregate a little snippet and we talk about it and drive traffic over. For Reddit, people will wholesale copy the article and post it inside the comments, or they'll take a screenshot and post it or whatever. But in some way, they'll fracture off the interesting part and house it within Reddit. At one point, Reddit actually held adult content on an external site and they did away with it. And now it's all internal, certain content. And they excised this external site. Well, why would you do that? Well, it's so that you're in control of all of the information, which means the traffic has to stay on you. Again, it's all because they the investors that are there are making money. While it's burning money, they're making money. They're getting a draw. The CEO and other executives are making money. Investors are looking for the longer play, hoping that somebody else, well, at this point, I think Reddit has to get bought by somebody else, but Condé Nast owns them. So this is the long play.
Well, I'm not sure they're going to get reacquired after Condé Nast.
Right. And I really don't get, like, they're getting ad revenue, and portions of that have to be going to individuals. And that's why they're not making, the company isn't making money, because there's portions being broken off to various investors. And that's why it's running, either negative. Everybody's getting a little bit of juice back. I don't know. I'd have to look into it, see how they're actually playing it out. But if it's like every other business, that's how it works. So, anyway, Luke Larson over at digitaltrends.com put the article together, and it says Google suddenly loves Reddit, AI built on Reddit. And Google has been turning up Reddit results on top of the list. So this is the problem that I have, is that information isn't necessarily right. It's just current and popular. It may happen to be right, but there you have it.
Well, and it's almost as problematic as AI, maybe less so, but I mean, somebody could have posted something completely fabricated.
And that is true. Yeah. Like when they went searching for that one bomber or whatever, it turned out that they were wrong. But it's a meme on Reddit that, oh, look what we did. So, and Reddit's early start was actually fabrication. It was people posting stuff. And right now, even today, there's, I don't know how many millions of people that may frequent the site, but they're posting other people's content on Reddit. Sometimes there's a subreddit that's like, hey, link to the source, or give a citation or something like that. And sometimes you're vilified for it and sometimes not. It doesn't really matter. But at the beginning of Reddit, it was all AI, not really AI. It was machine powered fake accounts posting replies and comments and stuff to pretend that there was traffic. So you fake it till you make it. And then people started coming over more and more and more and more from Dig, and then it imploded, and the rest is kind of future history. But yeah, so now Google is displaying Reddit increasingly, it says, is becoming an important part of the future of the internet too, thanks to AI. Reddit was pulled, or is being pulled, into an AI solution. OpenAI is my understanding. But it says this is no coincidence, of course. According to the report, this increase in traffic is thanks to people upending the word Reddit to searches such as Elden Ring Reddit. So you may have noticed this behavior in yourself in attempts to skip past the hordes of optimized articles slathered in ads in hopes of finding a simple answer to your question. Well, Reddit has an ad. It's kind of low end. It's not in your face. They have interstitials on the new interface. If you go to old.reddit.com, you get a different perspective. But yeah, you can do a search, and Reddit plays a big role in being a limiter, just like any other site that you might discover provides information in a consolidated way. There are other websites that you can tack on, right? If you want to learn something about programming, you use a program like GitHub or something like that. If you want to learn about a drink or a recipe or whatever, you can, or you want a video, you attach Google or YouTube, I should say. Anyway, so now the article switches over and talks about AI chatbots, and that's where Reddit comes in. Google was paying $60 million to train Gemini. That's who it is. It's not OpenAI. It's Gemini. And then OpenAI came later, just a couple months later, with its own deal with Reddit, OpenAI. And
They're like, great idea. Let's do this too.
Yep. And I think that it's kind of a poison pill because you don't know the quality of the response within Reddit. So it's going to get a lot of, I don't know, sociopathic, antisocial in with what used to be Reddit. And Reddit used to be respected as more scientific, more logical, more controlled in its discourse. And then basically the old hat people of Reddit saw Dig come over and they were like, well, there goes the neighborhood, kind of a thing. So I'm pretty sure that another site needs to come into existence that has the same type of thing, that makes it streamlined, that doesn't have... Here's the problem. When a CEO is making $150 million, that's why it's not making money. It could be making money if it was a small organization that didn't have investors.
And if all the money wasn't going over to the CEO.
Right. But the objective wasn't to have a lifestyle business. The objective was to spin up a successful business. And then somebody walked up and said, oh, we'll give you hundreds of millions of dollars for it. Who in their late 20s, mid 20s, early 30s, maybe, I can't remember how old they were at the time, who would turn away, like $1 billion for Minecraft? Of course somebody's going to what? Hell yes, I get to go and be sociopathic somewhere. Yeah. Anyway, let's move on. Next article is over in On Sequitur News. It's also the name of the show. Analysis of 20,000 EV stations concludes that charging is still a massive bummer. That's right. The experience of charging an electric vehicle in the U.S. could be better, and in a big new study, or a new big study, is out that lists the biggest infrastructure pain points, including a failure to report broken stalls, inaccurate station status messages, aging equipment, some habitually unreliable network providers who go unnamed in the study, apparently. It says unfortunately, but... So the study was conducted by Charger Help, which offers EV charger operations and maintenance solutions. So of course they're going to find a worm in the apple.
Right. I mean, they wouldn't exist, right?
Yeah, exactly. So Umar Shakir.
But this headline is kind of like the no kidding news, right?
Yeah, anybody who's ever interacted with an EV, charging is the suck. Most, like ICE engines, oil changes. That's the suck. Long-term maintenance overall is kind of the suck, because you have to swap out the air filters, and you have to sit there and worry about a battery dying, or a cable fraying, or a tube, a hose drying out. That would take decades, but it still happens, less and less nowadays, but all kinds of stuff. But with an EV, the only thing you have to worry about is, I don't know, having a spare 30 minutes to 8 hours to sit around and wait for your car to charge.
Who has that?
Luckily, you get to work 8 hours a day and give your car a chance to charge in somebody else's parking lot. I was going to say, the
only people who have that amount of time have so many resources that they probably have a driver.
Yeah, really.
And multiple cars.
Proposed solution, the deck statement says, Umar Shakir put the article together for The Verge, and the deck statement says proposed solutions to help make the EV charging experience in the U.S. better include getting OEMs and network providers to work closely together, which doesn't mean jack. What does that mean?
No idea.
So the study was conducted by the company Charger Help, which offers EV charger operations and maintenance solutions. The firm also had its findings reviewed and confirmed by Professor Gil Tal, who is director of the Electric Vehicle Research Center at UC Davis. Charger Help has used 4 years of data from 20,000 chargers it monitors, comparing networked stations' self-reported uptime against the actual uptime EV drivers find on location. So let me see if I can find this out really quick. If I can't, then I'm sorry, but let's see.
I wonder if these EV chargers do better or worse than that one that's the retractable um high. It looks like a power pole almost.
Yeah, that's what they're using here, right?
It
In this picture.
seems similar, although it's more accessible, which could be a problem because people could run into it or damage it.
Oh, this is the article that we were talking about. So there are somewhere between. See, the problem is statistics don't exist for the number of total pumps in the United States. So the gamut is massive, 900,000 to 1.8 million pumps.
Right. Well, so basically that or double, right? I mean, that's a huge range.
Yeah, let me see something real quick. So in April of 2024, the US had over 168,300 charging outlets for plug-in vehicles, according to Statista, which I can't imagine that that's legit. But here's the deal. 168,300 charging outlets compared to 900 to 1.8 million pumps, 900,000. So 4 times on the low side, 8 times on the high side. And the problem is that those charging stations are bound up for anywhere between 30 minutes and 8 hours a day if you want a 100% charge. It doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense to do it.
So you'd need at least, conservatively, you need at least like 16 times the number of charging stations as compared to gas pumps, right? Because the amount of time would actually be more than that. But
yeah, and according to an article by Edmunds, there's 3.3 million electric cars on the road.
I'd love to know what the ratio is, like EVs to EV chargers compared to ICE vehicles.
Right.
Compared to gas pumps.
Yeah, that's too many searches. So we don't really come prepared like that. So the study found that 26% of all stations analyzed did not positively match the perceived status. Across the chargers recorded, Charger Help calculates that actual uptime is only 73.7% compared to 84.6% as self-reported by the EV network providers. So of the 20,000 that they were looking at, similar to the amount of time you're going to have to spend, you only have 80. I'll be generous. I'll round up. 85% that were self-reported actually operational. So you could pull into a charging whatever bank, and there's 10 there. 2 of them are out of order. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a bad ratio, especially when there aren't enough to begin with.
Yep. There's also surprising variations in charger downtime based on location. For instance, at 4.4%, New Jersey had some of the lowest numbers of down ports in the country at the start of 2023. However, the state only had 27 working public charge ports per 1,000 registered EVs, which may not satisfy demand. Well, there's only 200,000 in all of the United States. No, it doesn't meet demand. It's because people charge at home.
And remember, they're not as interspersed or spaced out, right, as gas stations. And so it doesn't really help somebody if there's 100,000 EV stations in, say, California, but they're in Oregon.
Yep. And that's how it is. Population centers have more, and then they're they're conservatively sprinkled all over the place, but don't go to Wyoming. Let's move on. The next article is over in Non Sequitur News as well. Most wanted fugitive found working as cop. The suspect fled the U.S. after a bar fight in 2004 allegedly led to murder. Well, Sean O'Driscoll over at Newsweek.com put this article together. Antonio Riano, 72, had been on Ohio's most wanted fugitive list for more than 20 years. Or nearly 20 years, and he had been sought in the shooting death of Benjamin Becerra, 25-year-old in Butler County, Ohio, in 2004. 20 years later, they find them working as a cop. U.S. Marshals arrested Riano on August 1st in his hometown of Zapotitlan, Palmas, Oaxaca, Mexico, where he was working as a police officer. A photo released after the capture shows Riano in his blue police cap and jacket. Wow.
I mean, the only thing that would have been better is if he was serving as a police officer in his own jurisdiction where he was wanted, right?
Yeah. So when it started to say that it was in his own hometown, I almost lost my mind.
Know. I mean, same here, because that was the implication.
Yeah. Oh, you had me at the beginning there. Oh, well. He went back to his native Mexico. So now the release said that Riano was wanted for the shooting death of Benjamin Becerra at age 25 that occurred. So the dude shot him. He was already twice the age of the guy that he shot. So he was on the downtrend anyway, right? When you're 52, you're pretty much heading down. Oh, never mind. Anyway, let's move on. Next article is over in Technology Today. New York's flood warning drones screamed at residents in incomprehensible Spanish.
I mean, how rude.
I had to choose this. So in
the
New York
headline
City
was worth it alone.
This is the headline, yeah. It's just kind of hilarious.
Do you picture like a little creature or something drone doing this?
Just going
like, yeah, exactly. That's what I'm kind of thinking of.
Residents spotted one of the new drones issuing a flood warning on Wednesday to New York City residents in English and Spanish, but the Spanish words that came out of the drone were incomprehensible, according to a resident who shared it on Twitter. Maybe they didn't understand.
Do you think it was
Spanish.
AI powered?
Yeah, really. Danny Gallagher over at Engadget.com put the article together. The deck statement says Emergency Management Commissioner Zach Iskell apologized on Twitter. This shouldn't have happened. No. Really? Let's see.
Yeah, but how did it happen?
I'm going to try and play this. Hold on. Wait. There we go. This should work. Oh my gosh. It sent me over to that. Whatever. Guess I'm not going to do that again. Cheapers. Anyway, it sent me over to Twitter, and I don't do anything on Twitter anymore. Because...
it's not Twitter anymore.
Because it's not Twitter. So the drones had no problem issuing a weather warning in English as it was delivered the news about an incoming batch of heavy rainfall in a clear and distinguishable tone. The Spanish message, however, sounded like a robot speaking the language for the first time. Oh, yeah, so it was probably done by AI. So New York Times published a story on Tuesday about how the new emergency alert drone system and that the city sent the drones out to communities around 1 p.m. to inform residents about the heavy rainfall headed their way. Iskell told the newspaper that New York City Mayor Eric Adams came up with the idea to use drones as a new part of its warning systems, and Adams has instituted similar tech-heavy initiatives during his term as a security robot that patrolled...
what?
I intentionally...
It sounds like he's being the security robot.
I intentionally left off such. Anyway, Adams has instituted similar tech-heavy initiatives during his term, such as a security robot that patrolled the Times Square subway. Spot robot, also known as DigiDog, for the New York Police Department to use during hazardous situations like hostage standoffs. So, yeah, there you go. Wait, what is this? Yeah. Sorry, I saw something about an iPad and I instantly squirreled.
I think this source often has another article below.
Yeah. So you can kind of scroll for news after the primary one that we link to, but feel free. After you read the material, come back and talk with us here in ohmTown on Twitch and on the Tube. So if you're there, be sure to like, subscribe, hang out, follow us. We do a show we're supposed to do it at 8 o'clock. I have mayoral duties, so I had to move it an hour forward. But we do it every day, and then it gets posted as a podcast as well. Anyway, let's keep moving. Non sequitur news. As it is, we're going to move over to the word in law. Maybe don't tweet the destroying evidence subject to Lithold is a good idea. Former Jones Day lawyer offers thoughts on Google opinion and gets a little in over his head. So,
okay,
this article,
so this is a large law firm. This is not like a solo practitioner.
No. This isn't my cousin Vinny. So, although my cousin Vinny gets the job done, but Jones Day lawyer offers thoughts on Google opinion and gets a little in over his head. The article's at abovethelaw.com. Joe Patrice put the article together. We don't go through it verbatim, but Lithold is you're not supposed to touch anything. So, okay. They mentioned it in the title here. So, anyway, so Google's big antitrust loss is arguably the biggest antitrust development since the Microsoft antitrust a quarter century ago. Thank you very much. As much as the opinion shakes up the world of search, it might end up having a bigger implication for the nascent artificial intelligence industry if it disrupts Google's access to all the juicy user data that it can use to advance its AI offerings. I'm a big proponent of the right to be forgotten. I don't really make friends in big business. So, but within Judge Ahmed Mehta's mammoth antitrust opinion, it's 227 pages or something like that, or maybe 277 pages. I forget the last one of those numbers in there is a 7. I know that the first one is 2, but anyway, it's not 27 either, just in case you're wondering. Anyway,
it's not 727.
Stop it. It might just be. Anyway, they declined to sanction Google, noting that the evidence wasn't necessary to establish the government's case, but he still wasn't happy. Still, the court is taken aback by the lengths to which Google goes to avoid creating a paper trail for regulators and litigants. It is no wonder that this case has lacked the kind of nakedly anti-competitive communication seen in Microsoft and other Section 2 cases. Google clearly took to heart the lessons from these cases. It trained its employees rather effectively not to create bad evidence. Ultimately, it does not matter. Section 2 liability does not rise or fall on whether there is a smoking gun proof of anti-competitive intent. All right. So apparently, Jones Day, former antitrust leader, says not expressing an opinion on the merits, but this point is silly. No firm has an obligation to create a paper trail for people or entities that may want to attack it. If anything, it has a fiduciary obligation to do just the opposite. Yeah. Willfully issue documentation so that you can't be found culpable for your actions. I'm telling you, ethics is the smallest freaking chapter of existence on the planet. And it's people like this that support that ideology. Yeah, it's wild. It's absolutely wild. Says, okay, this is very true that there's no duty to create a paper trail in the ordinary course of business. Actually, the fiduciary element also includes you having to be able to track the source of funds, the progress of your business. You have to justify where your money goes to investors and to the CEO and to the business leadership. But if the business leadership from the top down tells you don't document anything because we're doing such sneaky shit that we'll eventually get caught, yeah, there's a real problem here. It almost rises to criminal activity because you're aware of it, you're cognizant of your actions, and thus acting different so that you're not going to get caught. You'll still get caught because people are idiots. But anyway, you don't get to start the shredders going whir once the DOJ tells you that what they're probing. Now, this is all after the fact, but what this guy up here, Joe Sims, tweeted about is basically, if you start at the start and don't document any of your criminal activity, then it's you're fiduciarily sound, right? You're doing good for the business. It's absurd. So then Bill Baer, former Assistant Attorney General for Antitrust, Bill Baer, jumped into the fray and says, "Come on, Joe, you have advised clients to preserve documents when on notice of litigation. Google did not preserve for 2 years. Give me a break." And then they also said, "Alas, this helping hand was not taken." Sims replies with, "I advise clients to establish procedures that preserved only those documents needed for business purposes and dispose of everything else, which I assume you did too. Apparently, Judge Mehta did not believe the procedures adopted were improper and thus deserved sanctions." This person actually said, destroy evidence.
Yeah, that's, I don't know. That's a whole nother level of something.
Wow. Yeah. If this person was a police officer, they'd go back and audit every freaking case that they were touching, associated with. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Okay, we got to move on though. There's more in all of these articles that we talk about. You kind of go over, some of the nuts and bolts of it, but at the end of the day, there's probably going to be some. Yeah, see, they talk about document deletion policy, staying atop the exact moment when the document retention policy, or more accurately, the document deletion policy, has to be turned off is a big part of not having the court put the client on blast for spoliation. So you're not supposed to destroy anything, and you're supposed to conduct business without any tainted hand. You're supposed to just conduct your business in good faith, not with a conspiratorial mind to destroy data before it gets found out. It's rather disgusting, actually. But anyway, let's keep moving. So the next article is over in Prime Glass. Yayoi Kusama's boundless polka dot sculpture turns heads at London Station. The mind-bending piece fills public space outside Liverpool Street interchange. Oh, nabbit. Hold on. So again, you won't run into this. The way that I put the presentation together, there's no way for me to see this within my capsule. But is this the same artist that I saw?
It is.
So this artist is actually pretty fascinating. At one point in their life, they started seeing polka dots overlaying everything, and they turned it into their art. It became their life. I actually saw this here in DC, right, in the United States. I don't know where they are now, other than, I guess, according to this, they're in London. So I know that it's a roving art piece. I don't know if it's still in Washington, DC.
I couldn't recall if the artist is still alive. Because they could have an exhibit, of course.
Yeah, they're 95 years old.
Yeah, well, exactly. And they're from Japan.
Right.
Which is pretty apparent from the name, but
yeah, you never know. And so the art is actually pretty fascinating. At one point, I was inside a room within a room, polka dots everywhere, and it created an illusion that there was a wall in front of me. And so I pushed on the wall because it was time to leave the room after you kind of drink it all in. But there was no wall, and I damn near fell out of this room into a darkened hallway. It was pretty amazing. And then the people behind me did the same thing, and thought it was really interesting. Ended up talking to other people who had gone through it, and they're like, yeah, we did too. So it was quite a profound art piece. At least to me, it was fascinating. I wouldn't call it spiritually moving, but maybe somebody else did. So pretty fun show when it was in DC.
Yeah, definitely worth seeing if it's coming to your area.
And you can always look it up online. You'll find stuff. So I really, Sorry that I don't log in while the stream is underway. So, but you'll be able to go and check it out. All right, let's move on. The next article is over in the Word and Law as well. Judge borrows trick from preschool teachers to make sure prosecution is being honest. Welcome to Pre-K Law 3. Prepare for secondhand shame if you watch the clip. So I'm not probably going to be able to watch the clip, but we'll see. Chris Williams over at Above the Law put the article together. There are times where it makes sense to pause and think before you answer a question. Dora the Explorer, one of the greatest characters of our time, frequently gives her viewers time to ruminate over questions like, what's your name? Can you see the map? And holy shit, is that Zorro-looking fox doing over there? So the judge is saying all this as nicely as possible, but I can't say I've ever seen a question like this put to a prosecutor at a trial, says Andrew Fleischman on Twitter. During the Young Thug trial, apparently, oh, wow, this is a revisiting of the Young Thug trial. Another day, another blatant discovery violation from the state. Love is speechless when asked if she's hiding anything else from the defense. Wow. That's amazing.
This is the most ridiculous trial. I mean, we've had other articles that are about completely different issues on this same trial, but
yeah,
right? This is the one where the judge threatened the defense counsel, I think, and then jailed the defense counsel. And by the way, it had a secret meeting with the prosecution, and now I think this is a new judge.
It is. Yeah.
What is going on with this trial?
Yeah, I don't know. And here's the thing about this. There is going to be so much to appeal. You might as well just call this a mistrial and
I think it'll be like appeal 1, day 1 of the trial, appeal 2. Like there's so much to pick from here on probably either side.
But meanwhile, the defendant is sitting there not out doing, living their life. Whatever it is that they've done, get your act together and then prosecute. But this, when the judge that's overseeing it says, another day, another blatant discovery violation. This is Thugger Daily over on Twitter. When the prosecution, or it says, Love is speechless when asked if she's hiding anything else from the defense. So Love is the prosecution state attorney. And is asked by the judge if they're hiding anything else from the defense. I think you've already lost.
Right. I mean, the fact that the judge is asking that question is pretty concerning.
Right. It's like blurting out.
Why would they be asking that?
It's like blurting out, like, I'm not racist. I have black friends. No. Look, if you have to make that statement, you're probably saying or doing something racist, right? This is just amazing. After Judge Glanville cozied up with the prosecution, it isn't clear that defendants fighting cases in Georgia even have a fair shake at due process. This is the previous judge. So the new judge basically turns to the prosecution attorney and says, are you hiding anything else? I'm just shocked that this case is still going.
Right. I mean, but I'm not sure which side would try to dispense with it, right? Like, there's been so many problems.
Yeah. Really, the state should just go. Okay. Because what's going to end up happening is they're going to end up being untouchable, because this is so contaminated that any appeal is going to win, because there's so much shenanigans, right? Anyway, we'll move on, because this is going to come back. I mean, I'm going to be surprised if we don't see this in the news tomorrow or the weekend. It's going to be back.
Oh, we're definitely going to see more about this. I mean, I think we've already had like 3 articles and shows on this, and we haven't picked everything that's come up.
Yeah, there's still more. It's fascinating. All right, let's keep going in the order of the grape. It's a channel called Of the Grape, and I've got news. I think depending on how this plays out, we've got 2 more weeks, and then we'll talk about another project that's underway, and we'll see if we announce it. But if you're curious, then ping us periodically. Stop by and say, hey, you mentioned a project. It has to do with something spiked. I don't know. Duncan just dropped a canned spiked pumpkin spice latte. I call this section the Drunken Pumpkin Spice Latte. So it's August, which means trips to the beach, backyard barbecues, and pumpkin spice. Yes, pumpkin spice products are already dropping, including a questionable 7-Eleven Slurpee, which I have not been in a 7-Eleven in several weeks, maybe a couple of months. For this, you can thank the seasonal creep phenomena, which brings the flavors of fall closer and closer to the middle of summer each year. The latest culprit, Dunkin's spiked new pumpkin spice iced latte. So is it actually alcohol? I can't imagine.
I think it is because of the spiked, right? Doesn't that mean with booze in it?
Yep. So yeah, it's part of a ready-to-drink line of hard canned coffees and teas launched last year with flavors like strawberry dragon fruit iced tea and caramel iced coffee. Following its success, the brand is expanding to this limited edition seasonal release featuring a fan favorite flavor. The new offering comes in at 6% ABV. So I helped kickstart a thing called Igulu, and lo and behold, I got it. And it's in progress right now doing an amber lager. And if that turns out a success, I will make a spiced pumpkin or a spiked pumpkin spice latte lager, basically a flavored beer like this. And we'll see if the Igulu can do that, or Igulu can do that, because they actually have 2 models, the F1 and the S1. I have the F1, the original. The S1 is the new one. But I actually have always wanted to do a show. It's kind of obvious. I want to open up a distillery, even a micro distillery, I have a channel here called Distillerist. Another one called Of the Still, but it's because one is a deeper dive into drinks and the other one is just general discussion. And then there's Of the Bean, which is about coffee, Of the Brew, which is about beer, Grape is about wine, Leaf is about tea. Anyway, the bummer about distillation is it's entirely illegal in the United States without you being a commercial enterprise. And I don't want to.
It's kind of limiting in the US.
Yeah, I don't really want to be and the primary mover for that, not only is it a little protectionist, but methanol is really, really dangerous. It burns invisible and hot. And so you could actually set something on fire and you not really realize it. And I mean, until you're on fire. So yeah, that's why there's a big limit on it. But small batch kind of stuff, it's mostly harmless, particularly when you talk about things like air stills. Anyway, that has nothing to do with this, but non sequitur news. So the article is over at vinepair.com. Hannah Staub is the author. And this looks exactly like I would expect from Duncan.
It does, but you're not getting that in the can because it looks like a drink in a glass or something with the whipped cream and the caramel.
Yeah, you dump this out into a glass and then you throw some whipped cream on it and boom. Tanked.
I think it's fascinating that Duncan has gotten in on this. It seems like all the like wine and beer and just in general spirit makers have seemed to get in on the the canned, like ready to drink market.
Yeah, I think that this is great. I love this. I'm going to have to go and get
I'm not
this.
opposed to it. I'm just surprised that Dunkin' is doing it now.
Where there's money and people want to get toasty. So Dunkin' Spiked is a ready-to-drink line of hard canned coffees and teas launched last year. Quote, as one of our highly anticipated seasonal offerings, pumpkin spice latte has become a staple amid everyone's favorite cozy season, which is weird because I thought Starbucks was the one that was...
They were the ones that really started this
right
trend or craze, I think.
Right. That's
so
what I thought too.
That's kind of a, like, why didn't Starbucks get there first?
Recognizing this, we knew that we had an opportunity to create something special with an adult twist on the beloved beverage. After receiving such overwhelmingly positive response on our spiked iced coffee, after only 1 year on the market, the Dunkin' Spice Pumpkin Spice Latte. Wait. Dunkin' Spiked Pumpkin Spice Iced Latte. There you go. Felt like a natural addition to the line, allowing us to meet the growing demand of 21 plus consumers seeking a way to get away from it all. Yep.
I can't imagine trying to order that somewhere. I guess you buy it in a grocery store or a liquor store or something, but
yeah, you definitely go to a liquor store.
It's just like you could get tongue-tied with the name.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to go to Dunkin' and get it. Next
Probably
article.
not.
Without reading this, I suspect that 737 MAX 9 doors will now have air tags in them so that they're harder to lose. But the title of this is Boeing says 737 MAX 9 door plugs will now be harder to lose.
Oh, I thought they were going to remember to put the bolts in.
Well, that's probably the correct tack on the article, but I swear that all they're going to do is like duct tape a air tag. So after a door plug blew out of a 737 MAX 9 this January, the National Transportation Safety Board sprung into action trying to get to the bottom of why. It's because somebody had a pocket full of bolts. Melvin Backman over at quartz.com, or not quartz.com, it's qz.com, but Quartz is the newspaper. Really?
You know, when you carry something with you inadvertently from one area to another, maybe that's what happened with the bolts and somebody walked off with them in their pocket instead of remembering to put them
in. Well, like if you've ever tried to screw something in underneath something and it hits the ground and rolls away, it's probably sitting directly underneath the plane and they're like, never mind.
Too difficult to get to.
That's right. Oh, I have to climb down there. It's cold and windy. Anyway, the inquiry continued this week with a series of hearings designed to more fully understand. Well, the blowout has hurled Boeing into chaos, tanking its stock price and prompting its CEO to announce his retirement at the end of the year and thus not disclosing the location of all of those bolts. I have them all. So Elizabeth Lund, an executive at Boeing, said the company has implemented some updates to its planes since the incident, including a more important one that it plans to retrofit to older builds. They're working on some design changes that will allow the plug to not be closed if there is any issue until it is fully secured. You mean like having bolts in it? Oh, you're enumerating the policy is to have the bolts in it. Got it. Okay. So if the bolts aren't in it... Which was
probably already in the policy, but okay.
So yeah, the plug is not to be closed if there's any issues until it's fully secured. So if you think it's fully secured because it seats, but what?
Yeah, how are you going to close it without the... Like, you have to close it to put the bolts in, so I'm not quite sure how this policy is going to work.
Right. Yeah. This is what's going to happen. It's going to fall out. That's what it did at 25,000 feet. Anyway, let's keep moving. We have another one that's going to be causing problems. Totally called it right from the beginning. This article's over in Four Wheel Tech, even though it doesn't really have any wheels. Boeing Starliner could brick ISS docking port if crew abandons it. So here's the kicker with this thing. It doesn't have the software in it to automatically undock, so somebody has to be inside it. They're going to do an update of the software, but it's going to take a month. But there's a mission right now heading towards the ISS for a supply mission that has like 9 tons worth of equipment in it or something like that, or 4 tons. So NASA is contemplating bringing astronauts Barry Wilmore and Suni Williams, I think it's Suni Williams, home from the International Space Station on a SpaceX Crew Dragon and flying a Boeing Starliner back empty. One problem, Boeing removed the Starliners. Really? I didn't know that it removed it. I didn't think it had it. Anyway, Boeing removed...
Well, and apparently the Cygnus has already arrived, so I don't know how that happened.
Yeah, where is it docked? There's only 2 and they're full.
Right. None of this makes any sense.
And they can't go to the Russian side because it has a dock incompatibility. So Boeing removed the Starliner's autonomous undocking feature from its software. I guess that NASA needed to pay the subscription.
Oh yeah, it must have had a subscription fee.
Ryan Eric King over at jalopnik.com put the article together. NASA fears Boeing autonomous software update for Starliner could render ISS docking port inoperable. And that's because it's going to take a month, 4 weeks to update the Starliner, verify that it can detach properly, and automatically undock and transit back to Earth.
This is so odd. I mean, this just doesn't seem well planned out. And by the way, I just noticed the Cygnus was having issues before that was launched too. So, interestingly.
Oh boy. So the aerospace manufacturer wants to push a software update to the spacecraft in orbit, but NASA fears it could do more damage. It's been over 2 months since the Boeing Crew flight test launched from Cape Canaveral. NASA not only delayed its decision on the Starliner, but also the launch date for the upcoming SpaceX Crew 9 mission from August 18th to the 24th. This is all stuff that people have reported previously in other areas, so it isn't really new information, but Ars Technica dug into the reasoning behind the potential delay, and it's because of first blush, it seems absurd, right? It had the need to update the Starliner's flight software. 3 separate, well-placed sources have confirmed to ours that the current flight software on board Starliner cannot perform an automated undocking from the space station because it was removed, is what the article says. So, unbelievable.
Does this remind you of like Tesla's car wash mode or something?
Yeah.
I don't know. It just seems like how it's designed seems like there are going to be issues, right? Like the fact that a person has to be there with software, etc.
Yep. Yeah. It's basically done. It's a brick in space unless there are 2 human beings in there flipping switches in a system where the flip of a switch is telling a computer to do something that it should be able to do automatically. Yeah. And the moment that the first issue that it had of the helium leak, I said, this thing is a sieve. It looks like it's held together by spackle, duct tape, and a tampon. And lo and behold, it has another leak. And then while they're traveling through space, they find 4 more leaks, and then the engines misfire, and then it can't dock properly, so it resets and docks properly, but now it's there, just hanging there. Yeah.
I still kind of think it should have just turned around and gone home.
Yeah, it should never have left, and that's what I said. It should never have left. So here we are, Starliner, basically bricking a port. So whatever, there's only 2 docking stations on the docking bays on the ISS American side. I say they should just use the Canadarm, grab it, and fling it down into the atmosphere and be done with it. That way they get it back. They get the parts back and they can do an investigation, but it doesn't matter. And they get that docking bay open so that more stuff can come and we can get these people back safe. Done and done. We know the reliability seems to be pretty high on the SpaceX modules, so let's get it done. Anyway, that's it for today. So we are going to use the Canadarm, and it's going to pull us all the way back to the front page of ohmTown. I'd refresh it, but I don't know. This one's good enough. Although, I tried to actually promote one of my videos, and it was denied again. I don't even talk about politics, but apparently...
I wouldn't refresh.
All right. Well, that's it, folks. I am Mayor Watt, and the other voice you hear is the Sentient AI from the future.
Good night, ohmTown citizens. Thanks for joining us for the August 7th Non-Sequitur News.
Cheerio. Oh, my docking port is bricked.